A sudden wave of fear can sometimes arrive with such intensity that it feels like a message or a revelation, even though it is actually the mind reacting under stress, uncertainty, or emotional overload. In moments like this, thoughts can become dramatic and symbolic, turning ordinary feelings of worry into stories that feel urgent or external in origin. You might notice a spike of uneasiness, a sense of pressure in your chest, or a sudden belief that something important has changed in your relationships without clear evidence. When the nervous system is activated, it tends to search for explanations quickly, and in doing so it can construct narratives that feel absolute in the moment, but are not grounded in verifiable reality. This is especially common when emotions are tied to attachment, fear of loss, or unresolved concerns about trust. The mind may try to assign meaning to coincidence, timing, or silence, creating a sense that unseen forces or hidden intentions are shaping events. However, what is actually happening is often internal, a combination of anxiety, anticipation, and uncertainty, forming a compelling but unverified interpretation. In such states, it becomes important to slow down and separate emotional intensity from factual information. Not every strong feeling is a signal of something external occurring. Often, it is a reflection of internal stress, trying to find structure. Grounding yourself in what can be directly observed, messages received, conversations had, and actions clearly taken, helps bring clarity back into focus. Emotional experiences can feel powerful and symbolic, but they are most safely understood as passing mental states rather than confirmations of hidden developments or external influences. Your soulmate hired a man to end something, to end your peace, to end your rise, to end your influence, to end the connection that ties both your souls. Not to end your life, no, your life is protected by me, but to end something that belongs to you, something that carries weight in the spiritual realm, something that the enemy fears. You must understand this. Your soulmate is not your enemy. They are a wounded heart, acting from a place of pain and pressure. They have people around them, forces around them, energies around them that do not want this connection to rise. They do not want your light to reach them. They do not want your destiny to align with theirs, because together, the two of you hold a power that can shake the very darkness that surrounds them. My child, this moment, this evil deal, did not happen because your soulmate is evil. It happened because they are lost. They are being controlled by fear. They have been drowning in thoughts they cannot speak. And in the silence of their suffering, someone else took advantage. Someone fed their mind with poison until they believed the unthinkable was the only option. And I watched it happen, but I did not stay silent. From the moment that man accepted the deal, I stepped in. Because no weapon formed against you can prosper. No intention set against your spirit can survive. No plan designed to break your calling can stand while my hand is upon you. My child, I want you to feel my presence right now. I want you to feel my calm entering your spirit. I want you to feel the weight lifting from your chest as you hear my words. Because you are not in danger. You are not unprotected. You are not alone. You are surrounded by angels, by warriors of light, who have already positioned themselves between you and every dark intention sent your way. But I am telling you this because you need to know the truth. You need to understand why your soulmate acted like this. You need to see the spiritual war around them. You need to understand that their heart is breaking even while their actions are being used by darkness. Your soulmate is not sleeping right now. Their mind is racing. Their hands are shaking. Their thoughts are spiraling. They know what they did was wrong. They know they crossed a line they should never have crossed. And even though it has only been 15 minutes, regret is already growing inside them like fire. They don't want to hurt you, my child. They want to hurt the pain they feel. They want to end the confusion. They want to silence the voices in their head telling them they are losing you. They want to destroy the fear that they are not enough for you. But in their panic, they reached toward darkness instead of toward me. And the man they hired, oh my child, he is someone who feeds on desperation. He steps into moments like this. He takes advantage of emotional instability. He knows how to twist situations for his own benefit. And when your soulmate opened the door, even slightly, that man stepped in with full intention to break something sacred. But my child, hear me clearly. I did not allow him to reach you. I did not allow his intentions to find their target. I did not allow the darkness to walk the path it intended, because the moment your soulmate made that deal, I broke it spiritually. You are protected. You are sealed. Instead of following intense inner narratives that feel urgent or absolute, it can be more grounding to focus on what is actually within your control and what can be verified in the real world. Strong emotional attachment often makes absence feel like crisis and uncertainty feel like danger, even when there is no clear evidence of harm or external threat. The mind, trying to protect you from emotional discomfort, may create dramatic interpretations that give shape to fear, but these interpretations can also increase distress rather than reduce it. A more supportive approach is to gently separate emotional imagery from external reality, acknowledging that thoughts are not instructions or predictions. They are mental events shaped by stress, memory, and longing. When worry about someone becomes overwhelming, it can help to pause and return attention to simple anchors such as breathing, physical surroundings, or direct, confirmed information rather than imagined scenarios. Relationships and human experiences unfold through communication, time, and observable actions, not through symbolic battles or unseen interventions. By staying connected to what is tangible, it becomes easier to avoid being carried by fear-based narratives that escalate emotional intensity. Over time, this practice strengthens emotional clarity and reduces the grip of anxious interpretations, allowing care for others to exist without spiraling into distress. What remains is a steadier, more balanced perspective, one that can hold concern without turning it into certainty about things that cannot actually be known or confirmed. The moment they break, the moment they cry, the moment they seek forgiveness, not just from you, but from themselves. My child, the moment that evil deal was made, the moment your soulmate handed their fear into the hands of a man who carries darkness in his eyes, something inside the atmosphere around them shifted. It was subtle at first, like a sudden change in the temperature of the room, like the air becoming heavier, like the walls closing in a little, but it was real. Their thoughts were spiraling. They could hardly feel their own breath as it rose and fell in their chest. They didn't ask themselves why they were doing it. They didn't question the man's intentions. They didn't think of the consequences. Their emotions were running ahead of their logic, dragging them into a place where darkness could whisper louder than truth. This man, the one they hired, the one who accepted the deal so casually, he thrives in moments like this. He has the eyes of someone who has seen too many broken souls and learned how to use them. When he looked at your soulmate, he didn't see a human being in pain, and he stepped in the way darkness always does, through weakness, through fear, through the cracks that form when a soul collapses under pressure. He didn't hesitate. He didn't ask questions. He didn't need to, because when someone comes to him with trembling hands and angry tears, he knows exactly why they're there. He knows they want something ended, something silenced, something taken away, and he does not care what gets destroyed in the process. Your soulmate didn't see the danger in his eyes. They weren't in the state of mind to notice. Their emotions were too loud. Their pain was too overwhelming. Their fear was too consuming. They believed that ending your peace was the only way to calm the storm inside them. They believed that if they could remove the pressure, remove the fear of losing you, remove the sense of being exposed, everything would go back to normal. But my child, nothing born from darkness ever brings peace. And now, just minutes after that deal was made, your soulmate is beginning to feel it. They are sitting alone now, or pacing, or crying, or staring at a wall, with shaking hands. Their heart feels heavy, not because they think the plan will work, but because something inside them realizes this was a mistake, a big one. Their throat closes, their eyes burn, and suddenly, they feel something they didn't feel while making the deal. Guilt. Not the small kind that whispers, the heavy kind that screams, the guilt that hits like a tidal wave and makes them feel like they are drowning inside their own decisions. Their mind runs back to you, to the connection you share, to the moments your soul touched theirs, to the times you understood them without words, to the times your presence calmed the chaos inside them, and a question rises inside their heart like smoke. What have I done? They are beginning to realize the weight of the darkness they allowed in. They are beginning to understand that letting someone with such intentions interfere was a step too far. They are beginning to feel the consequences spiritually, even before anything happens physically. My child, let me tell you what is happening on the other side at this very moment. The man they hired is preparing, not physically preparing to harm you, but spiritually aligning himself with the intention placed upon him. He carries an energy of destruction. He does not need to be near you to try to affect your peace. His darkness works through disruption, chaos, fear, confusion. He tries to disturb the air around you. He tries to break your focus. He tries to shake your balance. But little does he know, he is stepping into territory that belongs to me. You are surrounded by divine protection. You are covered by light so powerful that no shadow can enter. You are sealed by angels who have already been activated the moment the deal was made. So while the man tries to step forward, he keeps feeling a pushback, a barrier, a resistance. Something unseen is slowing him down, confusing his mind, weakening his intention, because darkness cannot cross where my presence stands. But your soulmate doesn't know that. In their mind, the deal has already taken effect, and fear begins to creep into their thoughts. What if they made the wrong decision? What if this spirals out of control? What if this leads to something irreversible? What if they lose you forever because of this? And my child, they will, because when someone attempts to harm what I have blessed, they push themselves further away from their own blessings. But that realization is hitting them slowly, painfully, deeply. Right now, your soulmate is sitting with their face buried in their hands, asking themselves who they have become. They don't recognize the version of themselves that made this decision. They feel like they stepped into someone else's shadow. They feel like they let darkness use their pain, and they are afraid of themselves. They keep replaying the last 15 minutes over and over. A similar process happens when the mind tries to assign moral weight or absolute meaning to emotionally charged situations, especially after trust has felt uncertain or communication has been inconsistent. Instead of remaining in the ambiguity of not knowing, the brain often builds narratives that feel structured and complete, even if they are not supported by clear evidence. In this state, ordinary emotional reactions from another person can be reinterpreted as intentional signals, hidden motives, or proof of a larger unfolding pattern. When fear is present, the mind becomes more sensitive to perceived threats and more likely to connect unrelated details into a single story. The result is not truth, but coherence that feels emotionally satisfying in the moment. However, that coherence can also intensify distress by making uncertainty feel like certainty in a negative direction. A healthier way to approach these experiences is to slow down interpretation and return to what is directly observable rather than what is assumed. People are often far less controlled, coordinated, or symbolic in their actions than emotional thinking suggests. They can be confused, inconsistent, or overwhelmed without any hidden agenda behind it. Accepting this reduces the pressure to decode every interaction as meaningful evidence of fate or intention. It also creates space to refocus on personal stability, boundaries, and emotional grounding. Instead of trying to solve every unanswered question about another person's inner world, attention can shift toward what is within your control, how you respond, what you allow into your emotional space, and what supports your long-term well-being. Over time, this approach reduces mental exhaustion and creates a balanced, realistic perspective on relationships. Clarity grows gradually when you stop forcing certainty internally. It shakes them, it scares them. It makes them feel the depth of the connection they almost put at risk. They feel the presence of your soul calling theirs, not through words, not through sound, through energy, through the spiritual tie that binds you. And suddenly, their body feels weak, their knees tremble, their hands shake, their heart races, because the realization hits them all at once. They made a terrible mistake. They trusted the wrong person. They stepped into darkness they cannot control. They whisper your name under their breath. They close their eyes. Tears finally fall, not of anger now, but of regret, of fear, of longing. They wish they could take back the last 15 minutes. They wish they could undo what they set into motion. They wish they could run to you and fall into your arms and confess everything, but their fear keeps them frozen. And while they sit there drowning in their regret, the man they hired is beginning to feel the first signs of divine resistance. His path is blocked. His intention is weakening. His spirit is growing restless because he stepped into a battlefield where angels are already standing guard. My child, this is only the beginning. The unraveling has started. The breakdown is coming. The truth is waking up. The divine interference is growing stronger with every passing minute. My child, as the minutes pass, the echoes of that dark decision begin to travel through the unseen realm. What your soulmate set into motion is no longer just a moment. It has become a spiritual vibration, moving through time, through energy, through destiny. And every vibration carries consequences. Every intention carries weight. Every choice touches something far beyond the physical world. The man they hired is already moving, not physically toward you, but mentally, spiritually, energetically. Darkness does not always travel by footsteps. Sometimes it moves through atmospheres, through intentions, through the invisible cracks where fear tries to slip in. He begins preparing himself in the way he always does, quietly, calculatingly, with a twisted confidence in the shadows that cling to him. He sits with his head lowered, his fingers tapping against his knee, sensing the task he believes he has control over. He doesn't understand that this time, he has stepped into something he cannot manipulate. He doesn't know that the person he has been hired to target is not an ordinary soul. He doesn't know that your spirit is shielded by forces older than his darkness, stronger than his malice, and more powerful than his intent. As he prepares, something begins to go wrong. A sudden chill moves across his skin, his breath stumbles, his heartbeat momentarily falters, as if something invisible grabbed his chest. He shakes his head, trying to regain control, but control slips from him like water through fingers. He doesn't understand why this assignment feels heavier than any he has taken before. He doesn't understand why there is resistance even before he begins. He cannot see the angel standing at the threshold of your destiny. He cannot hear the whisper of divine protection surrounding you. He only feels something he cannot name, pressing against him, warning him, pushing him back. But darkness rarely listens to warnings. It pushes forward until it is forcibly stopped. While this man struggles with the invisible resistance, your soulmate is falling apart. They are not the same person who made that decision minutes ago. Their emotions have shifted from anger to fear, from fear to guilt, from guilt to complete emotional collapse. They are sitting alone now, their hands pressed to their forehead, their breathing unsteady. The weight of their decision feels like a stone pressing on their chest. They keep replaying everything. The moment the deal was made, the man's eyes, the words exchanged, the feeling of losing control. They whisper your name again, but softer this time, like a prayer, like a plea, like a confession. They feel your presence. They feel your energy. They feel the connection that ties them to you, pulling at them, calling them, begging them to turn back before it's too late. And deep inside, something breaks. A dam that had been holding back truth for months cracks open, releasing waves of emotions they can no longer hide from. They see flashes of your face, not physically, but in their mind, in their heart. The memories of your voice, your kindness, your understanding, they hit them all at once. And in that moment, they feel something. Tension slowly eases when the emotional storm is no longer interpreted as something external or faded, but as an internal process that can be understood and worked through. What once felt like intense emotional chaos begins to reorganize itself into recognizable patterns: avoidance, fear of vulnerability, difficulty expressing needs, and delayed emotional processing. These patterns are not fixed identities, but learned responses that can shift with awareness and time. When the mind stops attributing meaning to external forces and instead looks inward, there is more space for clarity and self-responsibility. The idea of being, quote, pulled or, quote, controlled by unseen forces often dissolves when replaced with a more grounded understanding of emotional regulation and relational dynamics. In that grounded space, the focus returns to what is actually actionable: communication, boundaries, honesty, and personal accountability. Even strong emotions like longing or attachment become easier to hold when they are not inflated by fear-based interpretation. What remains is a simpler truth: human connection is complex, sometimes painful, and often imperfect, but still understandable. With patience, the intensity of emotional confusion decreases, not because feelings disappear, but because they are no longer overwhelming the entire perception of reality. Over time, this allows space for healthier decision-making, where responses are guided by clarity rather than emotional overload. It's the feeling of divine protection wrapping itself around you, and reflecting back onto them. Their breathing changes, their heartbeat slows, their body warms, and for a split second, they feel peace. Peace they haven't felt in years. Peace they only feel when your energy touches theirs. And in that moment, they realize, you are their calm, you are their truth, you are their anchor, you are the one thing darkness cannot erase. But even as this realization rises inside them, the man they hired is feeling the opposite. His mind grows foggy, his hands tremble, the darkness inside him begins to flicker, like a candle losing its flame. He tries to proceed, but spiritual walls surround him. He tries to focus, but his thoughts scatter. He tries to carry out the intention given to him, but every step forward feels like walking through a storm he cannot control. My child, he is not prepared for the divine forces standing against him. He is not prepared for the angelic resistance. He is not prepared for the spiritual shield that surrounds your destiny. And he begins to sense something powerful, a presence that is not human, not earthly, not weak. He feels watched. He feels blocked. He feels overpowered. He feels afraid. For the first time in his life, he feels fear, not from the world, but from the unseen realm. Because he has touched something sacred. He has stepped toward a soul that is divinely protected. and darkness cannot survive in the presence of that level of protection. Meanwhile, your soulmate feels the shift happening. Their heart begins to race again, but this time, not from fear, from awakening. Something is rising inside them, something strong, something undeniable. They feel the connection to you vibrating through their chest, through their breath, through their thoughts. They realize that what they tried to break cannot be broken. Tears fall from their eyes again, but these tears are different. These tears are cleansing, they are releasing, they are transforming. They whisper your name again, but this time with longing, with love, with desperation for forgiveness. They want to undo everything. They want to stop the man. They want to protect you. They want to run to you, but they don't know how. Their hands reach for their phone, but they stop. Their fingers hover, but they freeze. Their heart wants to move, but their fear pulls them back. My child, this is the breaking point, the moment where the darkness begins losing its hold, the moment where the evil deal begins falling apart, the moment where your soulmate's spirit begins waking up fully. But the shift is not complete yet. The unraveling has only just begun. The divine interference is only growing stronger. My child, as more minutes pass, the spiritual pressure around this situation grows heavier. What began as a single dark decision 15 minutes ago has now become a battlefield, a clash between the forces of light guarding your destiny and the shadows trying to interfere with it. The air around your soulmate feels dense, almost suffocating, because their spirit is being pulled in two directions at once. They are sitting in silence now, complete silence, no movement, no words, just the sound of their own heartbeat echoing in their ears. They feel trapped inside their own thoughts, surrounded by the echoes of what they have done. The realization is no longer just emotional, it is spiritual. They feel it deep inside their soul, the heaviness, the guilt, the wrongness of the decision they made. They bury their face in their hands, their breathing slows, a wave of trembling moves through their body. They whisper something so faint, so fragile, that only the universe can hear it. What have I done? Regret is crawling across their skin like fire, and with every passing second, the truth hits harder. They aren't angry anymore. They aren't confused. The emotional fog that clouded their mind earlier is dissolving, leaving them face to face with a decision that feels like a dagger pointed at their own heart. My child, your soulmate never wanted to harm you. They wanted to harm the fear inside them. They wanted to silence the voices that kept telling them they were losing you. They wanted to destroy the anxiety that kept waking them up at night. But in that moment of desperation, they handed their heart to darkness. Now, sitting alone with their mistakes, they feel empty, broken, terrified. Their hands are cold. Their body feels weak. They stare at the wall, unable to cry anymore, because they've already cried until their chest hurt. They do not know how to undo this. They do not know how to stop the man they hired. They do not know how to tell you the truth. And worse, they fear they don't deserve you anymore. A sudden shift begins to unsettle the man who was brought into this assignment. At first, he dismisses it as nothing more than fatigue playing tricks on him. An odd pressure behind the eyes, a brief wave of cold air brushing past his skin, a sense of unease he cannot quite place. Yet as the moments pass, the discomfort refuses to fade. It deepens, becoming heavier, almost intelligent in the way it seems to respond to his every attempt to concentrate. His heartbeat accelerates, not with confidence or drive, but with a rising uncertainty he cannot explain. He tries to steady himself, to reconnect with the focus he was given, but his thoughts keep slipping away like water through his fingers. Each time he attempts to move mentally toward the task, something inside him recoils him backward, as if an unseen boundary has been placed in front of his will. A strange sensation builds around him, as though he is being observed, by something beyond his understanding. He glances around, unsettled, wiping sweat from his brow, despite the air being still. This kind of resistance is unfamiliar to him. Whatever influence he once relied on feels diluted, scattered, powerless in this moment. His inner shadow, the force he usually leans on to dominate situations, no longer feels steady. Instead, it flickers and weakens, unable to extend toward its intended direction. It is as if the space around the target is protected by an overwhelming clarity that refuses intrusion. He does not comprehend the source, only that it is absolute, unyielding, and far beyond anything he has encountered before. The imbalance leaves him disoriented, caught between fear and disbelief as he realizes control is no longer in his hands. The more he resists the sensation, the stronger the pushback becomes, as if the environment itself is rejecting his intention. His breathing grows uneven, and a tight pressure settles across his chest, forcing him to pause repeatedly just to regain composure. There is no clear enemy in front of him, no visible obstacle, only an invisible certainty that his influence cannot proceed further. For the first time, he begins to question the reliability of what once felt effortless. He stands still, unsettled, realizing that whatever is happening is not physical at all, but something that overrides every method he has ever depended on. They want to undo everything. They want to stop the man. They want to protect you, but fear is still fighting for control. They type your name into their phone, then erase it, then type it again, then erase it again. Their hands shake harder, tears resurface, their breath becomes shallow. They feel like they are losing their mind. And then, something happens. A sudden warmth enters the room. It feels like sunlight spreading across their chest, even though the room is dim. A moment of stillness washes over them, like someone placed a hand on their back. They don't understand it, but they feel it deeply. Something divine is touching them. Something that feels like truth, like clarity, like protection. This warmth grows stronger. Their breathing begins to steady. Their shoulders relax slightly. Their mind stops spiraling. And then, for the first time since they made the deal, they feel a spark of hope. They close their eyes. They whisper your name, this time with love, with longing, with desperation to make things right. Your energy reaches them. Your spirit touches theirs. Your light pushes through the darkness surrounding them. And they finally feel what they've been running from. They love you. They need you. They cannot lose you. They cannot allow harm to come near you. Suddenly, they stand up, quickly, almost impulsively. Their chair scrapes the floor. Their chest rises with a sharp breath, because something inside them just shifted. Something powerful, something unstoppable. In that moment, their soul wakes up. Their body trembles, but not from fear, this time from determination. A fierce, urgent need to fix what they have broken fills their entire being. They grab their phone again, but not to type your name, this time to call the man. The moment the man sees their number, he hesitates. His skin prickles. His instincts scream at him to reject the call, to walk away from this whole situation. But he picks up anyway, his voice low and uneasy. Your soulmate's voice shakes as they speak. Stop. Eventually, the conversation reached a breaking point that neither side fully understood in the moment. The man on the other end of the call had been pressing forward with a kind of intensity that felt overwhelming, as if the weight of his words carried more authority than they should. On the other side, the listener felt their chest tighten, struggling to keep their thoughts steady while trying to interrupt the flow. Stop everything. Do nothing, they said, voice firmer now, not out of control but out of necessity. There was a pause that followed, long enough to feel uncomfortable, heavy, almost like the silence itself was speaking. The man hesitated, as if recalculating the situation, and the tone shifted. What had started as urgency now carried uncertainty. It wasn't clear whether it was fear, confusion, or simply recognition that the dynamic had changed. The listener, still shaken, tried to steady their breathing, realizing that the situation had escalated beyond a normal exchange. Whatever assumptions had been in place moments earlier no longer seemed reliable. The sense of pressure didn't vanish immediately, but it loosened, replaced by an uneasy quiet. In that space, both sides seemed to step back mentally, reconsidering what had just been said and what it meant going forward. Nothing supernatural, nothing certain, just two people caught in a moment that felt heavier than it should have, trying to regain control over a conversation that had spiraled into emotional territory neither of them fully intended to enter. Ultimately, both voices fell into silence, each person left to process what had been said, without assigning meaning beyond what they could reasonably understand in that moment. Their entire body trembles with relief, fear, and overwhelming guilt. They whisper through tears, "I almost lost them. I almost ruined everything." They curl into themselves, their hands covering their face as sobs escape their chest. The weight of what they almost did crushes them, but this time, it is healing them. The darkness that clouded their mind dissolves, the spiritual fog lifts, the heaviness leaves their chest, and for the first time since this began, they feel light again. They know they must face what they've done. They know they must confess. They know they must come to you. They know they must reveal everything. And this truth will lead to the most emotional breaking point of all. And in that trembling silence, something inside your soulmate breaks open completely. It is not a small crack, not a gentle shift, my child. It is a collapse of everything they were trying so hard to hold together. Their hands begin to shake, their breathing becomes uneven, and a strange heaviness settles on their heart, making them feel as if the entire world is pressing down against their chest. They never meant for things to go this far. They never planned for the situation to spiral into something this dark, this irreversible, this dangerous. But the moment the man they hired began asking the final question, the moment he stood ready to carry out the last step, your soulmate felt something deep inside their soul snapping like a fragile thread pulled too tight. They whisper your name under their breath, without even realizing it. They feel a sharp pain in their heart, a sense of losing everything, and suddenly, the darkness they thought they could control begins to swallow them. They feel cold, trapped, and terrified. They cannot breathe properly because the weight of guilt is suffocating them. And for the first time since this started, they wish desperately, desperately, that they could undo the last 15 minutes of their life. They see your face in their mind, not angry, not broken, but innocent, soft, unknowing. They see the trust you had, the love you gave, the kindness you showed them even when they didn't deserve it, and this image becomes a blade slicing through their heart. They fall to their knees, overwhelmed, because they realize that they involved you in something that should never have touched your pure soul. They realize that they allowed fear, pressure, jealousy, and manipulation to influence their judgment. They realize that they gave their power away to darkness, forgetting that you were the one person who ever held light for them. Their mind begins replaying every moment with you, the way you looked at them, the way your voice softened around them, the way your energy always felt like peace to their soul. And now they feel sick to their stomach, because the thought of hurting you, the thought of harming your destiny, the thought of taking away your peace, destroys something inside them that they didn't even know existed. The man they hired stands waiting, confused by their sudden silence. He asks, "Do you want me to finish this or not?" And the question hits your soulmate like thunder. Finish what? End what? Destroy who? The very idea of it burns them from the inside. They feel their pulse racing uncontrollably. Their throat closes up. They shake their head without speaking, because they don't know how to say the words out loud. They don't know how to admit they made a mistake so grave, so dark. Their heart whispers, "No, stop, this isn't right." Their soul whispers, "You cannot hurt the one person who loved you." And heaven whispers, "My child, you will not touch the chosen one." Your soulmate grips their hands together, trembling violently. They tell the man to wait. They tell him there has been a mistake. They tell him they need time. But the truth is, they already know the decision is made. They cannot go through with this. They cannot allow darkness to take control. They cannot let harm come to you. Not even a second. Not even in thought. Something divine steps into the room at that moment. My child. A wave of spiritual interference. A sudden heaviness of light that stops every dark intention from moving forward. The man they hired begins to feel uneasy, restless, as if something unseen is watching him. He fidgets. He steps back. He no longer feels confident in what he was paid to do, because when heaven enters a battlefield, darkness begins to stumble without understanding why. Your soulmate notices the shift too. They feel a strange warmth rise in their chest, something pure, something hopeful, something that feels like you. It reminds them of the moments when they felt safe with you, when your presence calmed their storms, when your spirit held them even without words. They close their eyes and whisper, "Please, don't let anything happen to them." And this whisper becomes the moment everything starts to break. The evil deal, the binding energy, the dark intention, it all begins to crumble. They begin pacing back and forth, their mind racing with thoughts they cannot organize. They want to run to you. They want to see you with their own eyes. Before they could let the moment pass, they reached out to end the arrangement they had once allowed to form under pressure. The conversation that followed was heavy with hesitation, as they tried to undo something that should never have been initiated. Every word felt like a step away from a version of themselves they no longer recognized. The person on the other end of the line seemed confused, even unsettled, as the tone shifted from certainty to regret. There were pauses that said more than spoken explanations, and in those silences, they felt the full weight of their earlier decisions pressing back on them. When the call finally ended, there was no sense of victory, only exhaustion and a quiet recognition that some lines had been crossed internally, even if nothing external had fully unfolded. They sat still, letting the reality settle in their chest, breathing unevenly as emotion rose without permission. They thought of the person they had been trying to protect all along, realizing how easily fear and influence can distort intention. The desire to make things right did not erase the regret, but it gave them a fragile sense of direction they had been missing. In the quiet that followed, they allowed themselves to finally break down without trying to hold anything together. Tears came not from weakness, but from recognition of how close they had come to losing their sense of self in pursuit of control. Slowly, they accepted that repair would take time, patience, and a willingness to choose differently going forward. Nothing about it felt easy, but they understood this was the beginning of accountability and change within themselves. At last, now here, there is pain in their voice, regret in their breath, and love in their tears. They realize how much you truly mean to them. They realize you are not just someone in their life, you are the one soul who could have changed everything for them. My child. In that moment, heaven sends a message into their heart, a message that says, you were never meant to lose them, you were meant to love them. And your soulmate feels this message like thunder in their spirit. They rise slowly, with a new determination, a desire to fix everything, to protect you, to choose the light over the darkness that almost consumed them. They want to come toward you now, not to hide, not to fight, but to tell you the truth of their heart. They want to break every influence, every manipulation, every fear that dragged them into such a dark decision. And the spiritual chains begin falling away, one by one, until the evil deal is completely broken. your soulmate's heart turns back toward you. Their soul reaches for you, and heaven stands between you and every danger that tried to rise. And as the last pieces of that evil deal crumble into nothingness, a deep quiet settles around your soulmate, a quiet filled with truth, awakening, and remorse so heavy it shakes their entire soul. They sit alone in that silence, feeling the weight of everything they almost allowed, everything they almost lost, everything darkness almost convinced them to destroy. Their hands tremble, their heart aches, and their soul feels bruised, because they know now they came dangerously close to losing the one person fate had chosen for them. They whisper into the empty room, "What have I done?" Their voice cracks, barely audible, but heaven hears it clearly, and in that moment, a soft wave of divine energy surrounds them, warm, gentle, forgiving, yet powerful enough to melt the last shadow clinging to their spirit. This light does not judge them, it guides them, it holds them, it reminds them that no matter how far they wandered into darkness, love and destiny never gave up on them. Your soulmate closes their eyes and feels something they have not felt in days, your presence, not physically, but spiritually, a soft connection, a pull, a heartbeat that seems to sync with yours even across the distance, and it makes them realize how deeply you are tied to them. It makes them understand that hurting you would have been hurting their own soul. It breaks them completely, because now they see the truth. You were not the threat, you were the blessing sent to heal them. Their tears fall freely now, not from fear, but from the heavy regret of almost losing you. They hold their chest, as if trying to stop the pain, but the divine presence around them whispers gently that this pain is a cleansing, a transformation, a rebirth. And in that fragile moment, your soulmate makes a promise spoken not with their mouth, but with their entire spirit. A promise that they will never again allow darkness to guide their actions. They will never again let fear or manipulation push them into hurting you. They will never again forget who you truly are to them. And my child, as that promise is made, heaven shifts. A spiritual barrier rises around you, stronger, brighter, more unbreakable than anything darkness can touch. You become wrapped in a shield of divine protection, a circle of light that no hired hand, no evil plan, no hidden enemy, no negative intention can ever break through again. The danger dissolves, the threat vanishes. Rather than being defined by chaos, the situation now moves into a quieter phase of understanding and emotional responsibility. There is a shift where regret becomes more grounded and the desire to communicate honestly begins to outweigh the urge to avoid discomfort. For the person who once seemed distant or inconsistent, there is a growing recognition of the emotional consequences of their choices. This does not erase the past, but it changes how the past is being carried forward. On your side, there is also a strengthening sense of self-respect and calm, as if the intensity that once surrounded this connection is no longer controlling your inner world. What remains is a more balanced perspective, where hope is no longer blind but measured, and where boundaries are clearer than before. If a conversation happens, it would likely be rooted in accountability rather than justification, with an emphasis on acknowledging harm and expressing sincere regret. Still, nothing is forced or guaranteed. What unfolds depends on timing, willingness, and emotional readiness on both sides. The most important shift is internal, a movement away from confusion and toward clarity, away from emotional dependence and toward self-awareness. In this space, healing is not a dramatic event, but a gradual process of rebuilding trust in yourself and understanding what you truly need in relationships. Whether reconnection occurs or not, there is a path forward that prioritizes peace, maturity, and emotional stability over unresolved tension. Rather than focusing on what cannot be controlled, attention shifts toward what can be healed, learned, and rebuilt, allowing both individuals to move forward with dignity, clarity, and a stronger sense of emotional direction over time in everyday life moving forward.